Sometimes I think it can be interesting to look back at predictions from years ago and consider how accurate were they? How did things actually end up turning out? I want to share a short video clip with you that I came across as I've been working on a different project. This is from a video interview that was conducted with my great-grandfather and great-uncle in the year 2001. It might have even been before 9/11. So this is really an interview taking place in a very different era. This was the dial-up internet age for us on Swans Island. And at that time, the litigation that was on Maine Lobsterman's immediate radar was from PETA. And of course, the mantle of PETA's efforts to shut us down has long been passed to a variety of other NGOs who were ostensibly more respectable and more fair-minded than those nuts at PETA who most people would admit are far from reasonable discourse. The anti-fishing NGOs we have to contend with today, be they aquariums, attorney collectives, or other forms of feel-good fundraising machines, they all agree on one homogenized solution for what they say should be the future of fishing. And we've been listening to them blandly repeat it for quite a while now. Ropeless fishing gear.
At NOAA Fisheries, our mission is to promote sustainable fisheries while ensuring the protection of marine life. That's why the Northeast Fisheries Science Center Gear Research Team and its partners are investigating ways to modify traditional lobster and crab gear. Ropeless gear, also known as buoyless or on-demand systems, eliminate vertical buoy lines from areas where the risk of entanglement is high. Ropeless gear is gaining traction in lobster and crab fisheries. We've partnered with academic and conservation groups to create a gear library at our lab in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. We provide ropeless systems to fishermen to evaluate, and their experiences help us tailor the technology to their needs.
Ropeless fishing is probably the only long-term solution.
One species that is particularly badly affected is the North Atlantic right whale. The North Atlantic right whale is on the brink of extinction, and there are only just over 400 whales left in the entire world. We're working with fishermen, with Lobsterman, to come up with a ropeless fishing gear solution.
One of the most important things is get it done, and get it done quickly. If we can raise awareness, if we can get people engaged, if we can mobilize them to call their congressmen, ask them to fund solutions, ask them to fund new technologies that exist, that both the fisheries and the whales can coexist.
For the past 2 years, I've been under the impression that the catalyst for the push to force everyone to go ropeless was the oft-talked-about 2017 unusual mortality event of right whales centered in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. That's the big inciting incident that's usually pointed to as proof that right whales suddenly started dying from fishing gear, and of course, because there are so many deadly entanglements going on, that's the reason we need to go ropeless, right? So I want you to keep that in mind, and let's jump back in time 16 years before the UME of 2017 that is listed as the reason that everyone must be forced to go ropeless. And by all accounts of the ENGOs, 2001 counts as being the relative good old days for the right whales. What were fishermen contending with back then, and what did the future trajectory look like? Uncle Matt answers that question 22 years ago.
PETA's got this lawsuit against National Marine Fisheries Service claiming that they're not doing enough because their initial regulations that they proposed was no vertical lines between the buoy and the trap. So you figure that one out.
Yeah.
If there's no vertical lines between the buoy and the trap, you aren't going fishing. You know. And they wanted they wanted the buoys on a remote control device, deflatable buoys that when you got in the area, you'd push a button and the buoy would inflate and up would come the buoy, you know. But when you got thousands of traps in one area, you know, everybody on top of everybody else, and the chance of you pushing a button having your buoy come up is very remote. You probably would never see it again.
It's crazy,
and it's just getting worse. I mean, they're starting out. It's an incremental movement. They're smart. They know what they're doing. They propose these regulations, and then they come back and say, well, we'll let you get by with this much of doing the ropes with the swivel and putting the red marker on, and then next year they're going to come back and do some more. Eventually, they're going to put us out of business. That's what they want. The Peter crab, they do not want any lobsters boiled or killed. They don't want any fish caught and killed that we use for bait in the pockets. And their goal is to put us out of business. And so far, the government is bending over and, saying whatever you want, we'll do. And the thing is with the Peter crab, I'm sure some of them, they got good intentions, but they've got all of Hollywood behind them, and which means millions of bucks. Actors, they donate to them. So they've got millions to hire lawyers to get these lawsuits. And it's a black picture. It's a black cloud on the horizon. And it's not the shortage of lobsters, it's the government. It's the black cloud, because how far are they going to go if Peter wins the suit? What are they going to do? Are they going to tell the state, call up Angus King and say, well, Maine's done, no more lobster. It's a dark cloud, and it would wipe out the whole coastal communities. It would just be the end of life as we know it. All the islands especially, there's no other jobs. There's nothing. And, there's a few carpentry jobs here and there, but not enough to support a whole community. So what would happen? People would sell out. They'd sell out to, some people sell out the houses, land, lofts, everything would be gone.
Well, they're doing it now.
Oh yeah, it's been gradually going on now.
Land on the shore right now.
Yeah, there's
fishermen that can't build. There's no land left.
Yeah, that's true. There's such astronomical prices on it. The Peter crowd, they donate millions to the congressman, to the ones that wants to enforce these rules, and and all that money flooding in to the Senate and House, and plus the lawsuit. So what's 10,000-15,000 lobster fishermen? If they get put out of business, that's no big deal compared to all the millions that these type of people pump into Washington.
So that's all the way back in 2001. And apparently National Marine Fisheries Service and the likes of PETA were all in on this whole ropeless deal all the way back then. Folks, don't let anyone tell you the ropeless fishing gear is a new innovation brought to you by the most cutting-edge science. On the contrary, ropeless fishing gear is a completely outdated notion. And apparently the effort to foist it on Lobsterman and others goes back as far as the days where you could board a plane without having to go through a TSA screening. Think of that. Think of all the useful things that have advanced and been innovated on since that time. And then think of how the new way of fishing that the feds and eco groups are trying to force fisheries into is basically the same as what was described here in 2001. I was 11 at the time. I don't recall ever hearing descriptions of this ropeless utopia or what it would look like back then. It could have easily gone over my head if I had heard something, but there it is. Maybe it won't hit you the same way it hit me, but I just really thought that was interesting to hear that from so long ago, and disturbing to consider the prediction and then everything that's escalated so much in recent years. And for anyone who's newly following this issue since all of the press last year about the red listing, it might come as a surprise that where we're at today has been a long time coming.